Right. We are live, guys. Oh man, episode 2. Welcome to Baloney Time with Kiko Baloney. That's me, your host. Today we also have on here with us, we have my brother, Fred Flintstone, not the Fred Flintstone. I think we covered that last time. And we actually, really cool. We have a special guest today, an old friend of mine. We actually go pretty far back. This is my friend, CJ Marks. CJ, say hello to everybody.
Hey, what's up, Kiko Baloney fans?
Welcome. It's really good to see you. I really don't think I've seen you in a long time, actually.
Not since my wedding, really.
Yeah, we played a little bit of like Beat Saber on the.
That's true. Yeah, yeah. In the VR world.
Your baby interrupted us. Like
yeah. Yeah. Well, we're both parents
baby's
now.
Doing really well. Make sure you say hi to your little one for me.
I will. Thank you.
But welcome. So we're going to have a really fun episode today. As you guys have probably seen numerous times or heard through some of the my previous streams, or maybe our last episode, myself and I know Fred, and I have a pretty good authority, CJ as well. We're pretty big Star Wars fans. In fact, there's only 2 of us wearing Star Wars t-shirts right now, so I'm just going to throw that out there.
I forgot mine. That's my fault.
I doubled down though. I got my Star Wars hat on for you.
Yeah. Favorite movie, Empire Strikes Back.
Yep, absolutely. Fantastic movie. Oddly enough, that was my very first exposure to Star Wars. I have very vivid memories of being on Scott Air Force Base in the basement. Fred, I don't know if you remember in the basement, you come down the stairs, there was that like crappy, like brown couch there to the left. And we had that cruddy, I don't think the console TV was down there. I think it was a little Sony TV, but anyway. And we actually had access to HBO or some kind of movie channel. Empire Strikes Back was on. And I remember being just kind of like, I had no idea like what that movie was. I had no idea like what I was watching, what I was in for, what I was doing. But Empire Strikes was on. And I remember years later when I finally got to watch it again, like I connected the dots and I was like, oh, and it was still like I was watching it for the first time when I watched it later in life. But my very first exposure to Star Wars was Empire Strikes Back. And Fred, I never knew that you were big into Star Wars like my entire life until my adult life. Then I found out you were a Star Wars fan.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's because when I got into Star Wars, we weren't living together, and actually you probably weren't even born yet. So my first exposure would have been Strikes Back 2. Just at a different time back when it was coming out, and getting the figures for Christmas, and had all the toys, and then I had a cake for one of my birthdays, that kind of stuff. So I was young. I was 78. Was it 77 when the first one came out?
77, 80, 83 were the 3
years. I watched, except for the third one, I watched them all after they were out because I was born in 78. So, but mine was like early childhood. By the time I came to live with you, I was in middle school, and we were going over to Germany, and it just wasn't one of those things where I really wasn't like now where Star Wars is everywhere.
Well, I gotta ask you guys: have any of you seen the original movies in theaters when they were released?
I saw Return of the Jedi.
Nick, you haven't? Come on. Well, I haven't seen it, but I think I probably picked up some sound effects because I guess my mom was pregnant with me, and I was in the womb when she saw Return of the Jedi, and it was like the first time that my dad felt me kicking inside her stomach. Awesome. Is what I've been told. So that's during Return of the Jedi.
So that's your first experience.
Kind of, technically, yeah. I don't know how much of the plot points I picked up.
you came out of the womb though, saying Han shot first.
Yeah.
What was your first like memory though, like movie wise, watching it? Like, what's your
I remember being exposed to Empire Strikes Back 2 when my aunt rented it. I had no idea what was going on. I had it explained to me like why Luke was so upset when the big reveal happened. And this is a spoiler alert for people who haven't seen Star Wars, but Darth Vader is Luke's father. And I had no idea what was going on. I was too young. I was probably like 8 years old, and I didn't even see the first movie yet. So I caught the movies on TV, and I just saw C-3PO and R2-D2 walking around the desert on Tatooine, and then it got bigger and bigger. They went to Mos Eisley, and you see how big this universe is that I wanted to know more and find out more about it. So when I got home from our vacation, I rented all the movies from the video store and watched them all in order and fell in love with it from there.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's funny how I feel like everybody has, just like everybody has their memory, you know, their first kiss, their first beer, their whatever. It's like Star Wars sticks with you, your first exposure to Star Wars, your first car, you know, which was obviously named Millennium Falcon every time until you got a new car. And then it was Millennium Falcon 2.
With the dice on the mirror.
The dice on the mirror. That's Fresh Prince, dude. No, it's fun. And actually, another fun fact about Star Wars, and you and I, CJ, I think, if I'm not mistaken, and I could be wrong, but that was what kind of brought you and me together as a friend. If I remember correctly, we were on a bus, share time bus. You had like I don't know, you were doing a computer class, and I was doing the auto mechanics class, working on the Millennium Falcons out there. And I was reading the Star Wars book. I was reading one of the Star Wars. Now I can't, for the life of me, I couldn't remember which one it was. It was probably New Jedi Order, if I had to guess.
Or maybe the Han Solo trilogy or something like that.
I can't remember.
Well,
the Han Solo trilogy I read back in like the late 90s, early 2000s, late 90s.
Yeah.
Back in Germany, actually.
I remember you specifically saying, though, like, you're the only person I've ever met who has read books outside of the movies.
Yeah. Nobody read it. I mean, there's tons of people that read it, right? But like in our circles, young.
I mean, well, we grew up in a small town in rural Michigan, so.
Right. Yeah, and a bunch of Star Trek fans.
Yeah.
Just kidding. Just kidding. I like Star Trek, not as much as other science fiction movies or shows.
So George Lucas said that he was inspired by Star Trek in many ways.
Absolutely. I mean, you look at Battlestar Galactica, the original show. You look at Star Trek. You look at the Alien movie, the first Alien movie, where the ships, the big ships, kind of coming through and it's panning out. You know, like the camera view. You look
definitely reminds me of the Star Destroyer coming in at the beginning of the
2001 Space Odyssey, right? With the ship coming. I mean, they all used a lot of that same imagery. Now, I don't think it was a whole lot of movies doing it at that time, but there was enough of them. As we look back now, we're like, if any of those people, like, I guess I don't know, maybe Kubrick's was first. Space Odyssey might have been before all of it.
Yeah, it came before Star Wars, but
I don't remember if it came before all the other ones, but I'm pretty sure it did. I'd have to look at all the years of these movies, but like I'm pretty sure none of them can say they didn't get any kind of influence from anybody else.
No, they have to. If you're watching anything, you're going to take something.
Right. I mean, Lucas, I think he was big on it was Space Odyssey, and then even Akira Kurosawa with R2 and 3PO's characters. He definitely talks about the influence. Buck Rogers. Wasn't that the space?
I'll let Fred.
I'm trying to remember. Buck Rogers is a
just before my time.
I don't remember the name of the show.
Pretty sure Buck Rogers was the 50s, but
okay. Maybe he caught on a rerun. I don't know.
Yeah, but anywho, I mean, it's all good stuff. All good stuff. And I think it's really cool too how we are kind of sitting in this world right now, this society where Star Wars is so, it's so just everywhere. I mean, we have Disney to thank for that, and I think we have a lot. I truly think we have a lot to thank Disney for. And there's some things I'm not too happy with Disney about it when it comes to Star Wars. But I think in the end, I can't complain for the fact that we have more Star Wars now. Right. I mean,
and all the shows coming out soon. It's just the Mandalorian was amazing. 2 seasons so far, and all the ones coming out. I can't wait for the different shows coming out. The Bad Batch. I know you didn't watch it yet, but it was a really good season finale.
It seems like Disney has had more success with TV streaming than they had with their movies now at this point. From what I've heard, that back just last year in 2020, they had to let go a lot of their employees for all their amusement parks, and they're reorganizing their entire company to be around streaming. That's where they can see the money at.
Yeah. No, I think you're right, and it kind of sounds like maybe have you not seen The Mandalorian?
I have not. To me, it seems, I don't even know why they call it the Mandalorian at this point. It seems like it should be called the Baby Yoda show from what everyone talks about. But I guess maybe if we do another one of these, I'll try and catch up and see what the hype is.
Now,
Power through the first couple. They're a little
Yeah.
bit slow for me, but when you get halfway through the season, the rest of it's just amazing.
Season 1, I feel like season 1 had this weird progression of like episode 1, fantastic. Second episode, meh. Episode 3, oh man. Fourth episode, meh. Like it just went back and forth, back and forth, back and forth.
Well, that's
and
because they're character building. They're building backstories and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, but there was a lot of episodes where like they did stuff that literally had nothing to do. Even at the end of season 2, there was stuff that like, why did that even happen?
Well, you gotta remember too, the premise for this was supposed to be like an old Western. A lot of old Western shows didn't have like a continuous
Sure.
this one, this one.
Anthology
They kind of
style
they bounced around, right? So this is the same idea. Like you can, there's an end goal in mind, trying to find maybe Yoda, a Jedi to go to, but along the way, there's gonna be other things outside of that, that timeline or that plot line where they can go, which is where you get that bouncing back and forth, which I know you're not a fan of, but that's how old Westerns were.
Yeah. Well,
and I think having a TV series, Fred, allows Disney to be a little bit more experimental too, versus the movies. They're a big investment, but TV series, they can experiment with each episode and see what appeals with fans
and reel it in maybe in the next season or whatever, if they realize, a lot more learning opportunities, I guess, as you go through and make a show like that than you do with a movie, right? Where you have 6 months of shooting versus, hey, we're contracted for how many seasons? We're going to be working on this for the next how long?
And whoever created that new stage they have, the live stage where they have the video behind them, whoever made that, they just made it so much easier for us to get more content faster and cheaper for them to make it, so we'll actually be able to get
live.
more of it.
What are you talking about?
Hey, now you haven't seen that studio they record on? It's like a big giant, it's like a circle, and they actually have video behind them. Like instead of doing like on a blue screen, they actually have real set. Like they have live video behind them that blends. It looks like it's real, even to the actors. Like it feels like I'm actually in this other world. I'm not,
So the actors don't have to just imagine what they're seeing; they can actually see it
exactly
in front of them. And
enter the downfall of the acting in the prequels, right?
Well, yeah,
like, that was what really hurt the prequels as far as the acting. I think one of the biggest complaints about the prequels was the acting, the script, the direction.
Yeah.
They were acting with air and a green screen.
Yeah, and it was pretty revolutionary at the time, so a lot of the actors probably weren't very experienced with
right.
it.
Now everybody's doing it, but still.
Hayden Christensen was new to acting even to begin with, so.
Yeah, I think before that he had The House with Kevin Kline, maybe another movie, I don't know. I think maybe just Kevin Kline movie.
Maybe I just probably don't give Hayden Christensen enough credit, but I can't help but wonder how much better the prequels would be if Adam Driver, played Kylo Ren, if he would have been playing Anakin Skywalker, because he was just such a good actor and he carried the new Disney movies so well as like a dark character.
Have you read the book for Episode 3, CJ?
No, but I heard it's really good.
So
have you read it?
I'm just saying, yeah, and so I'm actually almost done with it. I'm just finishing it up, but I will tell you that the movie left a lot to be desired compared to the book. The book is so much better. It does such a better job at explaining the internal conflict that Anakin was having. And I think if they'd have brought more of the book to the movie, and honestly, I think Hayden Christensen did a pretty good job. He fit what Anakin should have been, except that they didn't do a good job at expressing his internal conflict he was having. But I mean, I think you're right. I think Kylo Ren guy, I just forgot his name. He was
Adam Driver.
Yeah, Adam Driver. Adam Driver would have done a better job just because he is a better actor.
He is a great actor. Yeah.
But for what
definitely
was
a
going
wide
on
range
in that what was going on in that episode, I think Hayden Christensen did a decent job. He basically was a whiny. He was struggling internally at a very high level. They didn't do a good job explaining that. If you read the book, you totally see it in a different light.
Fun fact: Adam Driver grew up in Mishawaka.
Really?
And went to
not too far from our hometown.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. He went to high school there. In fact, I know a couple people that went to school with him.
Really? Cool.
And also
6 degrees of separation.
Also fun fact, Lucky Logan, good movie. With him in it. But anyway.
I haven't seen it.
Yeah, it's really, really good.
I saw the marriage one that got like an Oscar nomination.
with,
That's on
watched it.
Netflix. Yeah,
Did I
it's
watch
kind of depressing.
with Black Widow,
Scarlett Johansson.
Yeah.
Did you
Like
watch the cop one where he's a cop? Coming in the movie, right? He's a cop with God, remind me.
This is why we should keep it to Star Wars.
Yeah, it's good Star Wars. Yes. Anyway, so
we're here to talk about Star Wars.
So we kind of like ventured into like, man, we just blasted past the original trilogy, past the prequels, and right into the sequel trilogy, and that's
it's
totally
hard
fine.
not to because the Star Wars
Fresh.
universe is so big,
and it's fresh in our minds. It's the
and
newest
it's
movies
fresh. You're
released,
right. Yeah.
So, but really cool. I read this really cool theory on episode 7. So for the record, the second worst Star Wars movie ever created, hands down, was episode 8.
And the worst one being the Christmas holiday
2.
Special.
No, episode 2. The holiday special.
I don't even like you mentioned
Life Day or whatever with the Wookiees. No. Episode 2 is the worst, but episode 8's the second worst. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. I just had to throw that out there. Episode 7 was a really fun episode of Star Wars. The Force Awakens, I think, really welcomed us back into Star Wars in a great way. It was just amazing. I have great memories about that movie, but I read a really, really interesting theory on something that happened in that movie, right? So we're talking, I'm not even going to give spoiler alerts, because if you don't know Han Solo gets killed in this movie by now, you're doing it wrong and you shouldn't even be here listening.
Well, if you're watching this, you should not. Yeah, exactly.
Well, I appreciate you giving me grace on Mandalorian, then.
Yeah, absolutely. You're fine on that one. Anyway, so this theory behind this really cool fan theory I read was that Han Solo knew that if he allowed Kylo Ren to walk away, right, on that when they were on what was the planet called, Fred, CJ, do you remember?
I don't remember
Star
that.
Killer Base or whatever.
Star Killer Base.
Yeah, Star Killer Base sounds good. Let's just call it that.
Star Killer Base. If he allowed him to walk away from that he would forever be in turmoil. Well, no, first that he would be probably killed by Snoke. Snoke was already kind of fed up with, like, little do you know, Snoke was kind of fed up with Kylo Ren's character, or Kylo Ren at that time. And if he did not kill Han Solo when he had the chance, Snoke would view that as he has too much light side in him, or he has too much doubt, he has too much whatever, he's too weak, he doesn't have what it takes, I'm going to just kill him and we'll go after somebody else. So what Harrison Ford did is, if you notice in the movie, Harrison Ford actually grabs the lightsaber, and then it looks like Kylo Ren is actually trying to pull the lightsaber away, right? And he's like, I know what I need to do, but I don't think I have the strength to do it. And Han Solo says, will you help me? And he says, yes, anything. And he knew in that moment, Han Solo made the decision that he's like, if Kylo doesn't kill me, he's dead. But if he kills me, he'll survive, and he still has a chance to go back home, which means he'll fulfill his promise to his love, Leia, that he brought their son home, which kind of happens in the end. And
now you're rewatching now. Thanks.
So Han Solo ignites the lightsaber. Kylo Ren doesn't. So in the fact that Han Solo ignited the lightsaber, Kylo Ren can keep his mouth shut. Snoke believes Kylo Ren killed Han Solo. Han Solo dies, but knowing that his son still has a chance at redemption. A little deep, right?
Yeah, very much so. And it kind of, in a way, preserves a bit of the goodness in Kylo Ren, in Ben Solo, which ultimately was what Han Solo would want to accomplish if that was the case, and he loved his son that much.
100%. Absolutely. I thought that was a really cool fan theory. And it's, with Star Wars, you're going to get fan theories thrown at you left and right all the time. I'll bite on that one. I'll take that one as it is.
Well, and you're such a big Han Solo fan to begin with. I mean, I'm pretty sure next to Darth Vader, he's your favorite character. So anything give him more spotlight before his final demise.
I mean, and having him in the third one, the third season, was a good idea too. I think
Rise of Skywalker. Yeah, when he showed up,
and I think it was like unexpected. I didn't expect it.
I didn't either, but I mean, it made sense when I saw it, because I was like, oh, well, it probably would have been Carrie Fisher here, but they don't have her anymore. So it worked having Han Solo, his father, there too.
it kind of solidifies that fan theory, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I suppose.
But what is CJ? What are your thoughts on Episode 8, The Last Jedi? Ryan Johnson's masterpiece.
Oh, I mean, I hate to just be jumping on the bandwagon, but I didn't care for it to begin with, and I think ultimately I just did not. I mean, I really like Luke as a character. I like Han too, but I also really like Luke as a character, and I just did not like how he just went out with such a whimper, and then they just changed his character so drastically. It took me every time I see these movies for the first time, it takes me a while to go through what exactly I'm feeling after I see the movie and why exactly it doesn't settle well with me. And I've heard other people talk about how and point out, which I agree, that Luke tried so hard to save Darth Vader and redeem him and bring him back to the light side. Why wouldn't he do the same for his nephew when he just senses a little bit of darkness with him? Now, I guess Luke is quoted as saying it was darkness beyond his imagining, but how can that be if Kylo Ren is ultimately redeemed in the end too by his parents and Rey? Obviously, there was some redemption available for him. So, but I mean, I guess maybe then that's the problem with Disney just having all these J.J. Abrams and Ryan Johnson both doing two different things with the movies and stepping on each other's toes. And when it comes to the story,
Well, that's the bottom line. Is they didn't have a very good plan laid out ahead of time. It looks like. I didn't dislike Episode 8, but I was disappointed in the fact that Episode 7, like you said earlier, Nick, it was a great new movie to the series. Really enjoyed it. So you expected a lot from the next one, and our expectations
100%.
They're let down. Obviously,
Well, you can't end the movie on finally seeing Luke Skywalker for the first time in how long, and then the next movie starts off with him throwing the lightsaber over his shoulder and I'm going to drink some green sea titty milk. Like what? Like, come on, man!
Just block that from my memory.
I mean, I get it. It's just one of those things. Here, the thing is, though, even though Episode 8 was disappointing, I still overall enjoyed it.
It got so many positive reviews from critics.
Well, the thing is, like, I'm a Star Wars fan. Like the ones who always want to hate on, there's things I don't like about things, but also I'll accept it and say, hey, it is what it is, and I'm getting Star Wars. It could be no Star Wars, or it can be Star Wars, and I'll take the Star Wars.
I think there are plenty of fans who share your point of view.
Yeah, and I agree, and I do agree with you to a certain extent, but I think there's just certain things you can't really do. For example, Metallica, right? When they cut their hair and they changed their music, people were like, "You can't do that." And it's like, well, that's music, man. They're making it for themselves. They're making it for you. They can do that.
Right.
When you take something like Star Wars and you create an empire surrounding these characters, and these characters, they're like set. These characters are in the film registry. They're like aliens. 192 years from now are going to be like what are these movies? Put it on and be like, oh, it's our homeboy Han Solo and Chewbacca. But like you can't take those characters and just completely rehash the characters, right? Like if Rey went to a different hermit and he acted that way, not a problem. If Rey encountered other characters that acted that specific way, who cares? But it's Luke Skywalker, and that was the biggest problem I had with that movie.
That is a problem. That's why I think they made a mistake having a
Ryan
third.
Johnson direct the movie,
well,
100%.
I mean, yeah, that too, but having a third trilogy about the Skywalkers, because if they would have just had Luke and Leia like just in there and like introducing this new storyline, they could have done whatever they wanted, and we really couldn't complain because they wouldn't be doing anything to damage our childhood. So that's why I like the idea of the movies going forward. They as long as they're out either way before or the way after, they don't have to worry about our poor hurt little feelings about killing Luke Skywalker off.
I don't care.
I can see Nick's point about it being more than just hurt feelings, because for me, it was like Luke's character had been ingrained in people's minds for a while, and it did seem like it was too much change over too small of an incident, just sensing a little bit of darkness. I mean, that seems like as if Luke's trying to start a new Jedi Academy, something that he could have some sort of disciplinary rules in place in order to handle this type of situation. But to drastically change his character over such a small incident, I would imagine like Princess Leia saw Alderaan be blown up in front of her eyes, and she didn't become a hermit drinking milk from alien species like Nick so referenced early. But so I just think that it's too small of an incident. I agree that Nick, maybe it could have been like a different type of hermit. I mean, I know it's cool to have Luke show up and shoehorn him into this role, but there just wasn't enough time and enough story development to be able to turn him into the character that he was in The Last Jedi.
Well, and I don't have a personal like issue with him being a hermit, right? If you look at the track history of Jedis, they kind of have a habit of being like, whoa, shit.
The first Jedi you see is a hermit when you introduce Obi-Wan Kenobi in A New Hope.
Right. Then you have Yoda. Then you have Mace Windu. He's still out there.
We're gonna see him. We're gonna see him soon.
Is this like the Elvis theory? Like Mace Windu is alive?
He's alive. He's definitely alive. We're gonna see him in a movie or a show.
Disney will do it. Like as long as people want it, they will do it, and as long as they sign up for their streaming
if it's a
service.
storyline, he didn't. Nothing says he died. Like he got thrown out a window.
And Anakin Skywalker fell into traffic, of course. And
exactly. We've watched all these Jedi fall. We watched Obi-Wan Kenobi get shot off the rock wall, and fall, hundreds of feet, and somehow lives. And we saw Anakin make it.
Scene you're referencing there, Obi-Wan Kenobi almost dies getting shot off a rock wall.
Yeah,
episode 3 when Commander Cody shoots him.
Order 66 gets
shoots Bogan.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Well, he doesn't shoot him. He says. Like he gives the signal.
Gives direction,
some cannons or mounted blasters shoot.
Okay.
He's on that like.
Yeah, the Boga. It's like a dragon.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that was on Utapau.
Yeah,
I remember.
I think you're right.
It is. That's where I'm at right now. I just finished reading that part. So
Utapau.
Yeah.
We actually have a couple people in our in the Twitch channel right now. Kel Hent, also known as Chad. Sorry, I had to throw your name out there, Chad, but CJ's on. I had to tell him. And then my buddy Ed's on right now watching us. So welcome, guys.
Hey, Ed. Hey, Chad.
Hey, Chad. Ed.
But I think so. Kind of going back to what we were just talking about, though, and like, so CJ, you were saying that Disney absolutely would do that, right? If people want to see it, they're like, okay, we'll bring back Yoda and give him 5 whole movies. From the dead, Ghost Yoda Chronicles. But one of the things though they did do is they brought back Darth Maul at the end of Solo, and I have to admit I was okay with that.
Well, here's the thing: like,
really like this.
They can't do that and not bring him back into the movies, or I'm going to really be pissed off. But they got to bring him back, and he's got to be a bigger part of the movies.
Well, they kind of did, right? Because you had the whole Clone Wars and everything where you see what happened to Darth Maul, and then you see.
Yeah, that's past though. It's already happened. I want to have like a real movie with him in it again.
Sure, but chronologically, it's whatever. But
I was actually more excited just about the idea of the crime syndicate in Star Wars getting more attention. I mean, the fact that Darth Maul is our leader is fine. I mean, nobody knows who Prince Caesar is from Shadows of the Empire, probably. So, but people recognize Darth Maul, so that's fine if they needed to do that to make the crime syndicate get some legitimacy as a villainous organization. But I just thought that was cool, just having a crime syndicate in general. I remember, Nick, when I was reminiscing about when we did some tabletop story role playing in the Star Wars universe. That was actually who I was the most excited about, just having as a villainous organization for you guys. And Chad too is just having Black Sun and crime syndicate organizations instead of just having the Empire and the Rebels. It's kind of nice having a new villain, because it gets kind of tiresome to me from just always having. I mean, the Star Wars universe is so big. Why do we always just have to have Rebels fighting the Empire, or just rename them as Resistance fighting the First Order?
Yep.
CJ, if you saying that, you have to watch The Mandalorian, because there's literally is very little Jedi stuff, and it's outside of the Jedi. I mean, the Jedis are mentioned, and about them, but it covers the other areas of what you're talking about.
You should really watch it.
Okay, cool.
I'm assuming you read all the books. It sounds like me and Nick
I,
have.
I don't think I've got them 100% covered,
Well,
but
you've read a lot of
I've
them.
got
So
a few on my
there
belt.
is a lot of other stuff out
Well,
there that they can
you
definitely
and-
touch on.
You and I kind of, and I don't. I guess I can't speak for you, CJ, but I feel like you and I kind of stopped around the same time of the books, with the legends. You know, the start that became
Yeah.
non-canon. And it was right after the New Jedi Order. I think I read like a little bit of like the Kind Nest War or whatever, like with those bug creatures.
Right, I remember you telling me about that because
And-
it came after the New Jedi Order, which I was such a big fan of.
Oh man, there's never been a better series of books that I've read, man. The New Jedi Order out of all.
I think it was the perfect book series to appeal to adults because, again, you have like a new villainous organization come in. You have this alien race invading the galaxy.
completely
Void of the
new.
Force.
Yeah,
Like,
and
never been done.
and they're trying to enslave everything. They don't like technology. Everything they use is living organisms, but they can still fight the Star Wars universe to the point where the Empire and the New Republic are no match for the Yuuzhan Vong. It was a cool new idea. The problem is, I think the reason why Disney wouldn't have done these as movies is they're so dark, and the Yuuzhan Vong one enslave everyone. Slavery is a pretty sensitive subject nowadays.
Yep.
I mean, could you imagine having these scarred up, mutilated Yuuzhan Vong warriors in a Disney theme park trying to, like, welcome kids, come to the park, work in our labor camps?
What was the embrace of pain or whatever? Where
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And that's another facet. They believe pain would actually bring them closer to their. I don't remember if they had gods or God.
Whatever.
Yeah,
But,
it's like a god of some sort.
So you think you would think in theory it's a perfect series too to bring in a new audience of like all the ladies that read 50 Shades of Grey, you know, they would be like willing to give these books a shot.
Somehow I'm thinking
they can.
that guy was more handsome than a Yuuzhan Vong warrior.
Yeah, well, I mean, eye of the beholder, my man, eye of the beholder.
It's true. That's true.
Some people still say that I look like a combination of Brad Pitt and a young Han Solo or a young Harrison Ford. So
You
I
wish.
mean, hey, I'll take it. You know, I think something else that the books did that I feel like I really wish they would have kept a lot of the books canon. I really, really think they should not have retconned all of those books. And I know they didn't, right? I know Thrawn is canon now. Like they
But it's different though. I mean, you don't have
Yeah.
Jaina, you don't have
Jaina, Jason,
yeah.
Darth Cadus. That was kind of a weak cop out storyline or story arc.
Yeah, just to get a new villain.
Yeah, and let's make him. It's Jason. He's the grandson of Darth Vader, so let's just make him a new Darth.
Which is basically what they did with Ben Solo. So it's
Yeah, I mean, I have a feeling that's where they got the inspiration, probably.
well, I'm sure because they got Ben. So Ben was Luke's son. They took his first name from Obi-Wan Kenobi, Ben, and they made a Solo instead.
Can we just also focus on the fact that nowhere ever in the prequels that I can think of that Obi-Wan Kenobi is referred to as Ben? Did he just assume that name when he went to Tatooine and became a hermit?
Maybe the new Disney series will establish that.
And I'm very much looking forward to that. Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan was like him and Liam Neeson in episode 1 were like some of the like redeeming factors of those prequels. 100%.
I still think that Ewan McGregor and Hayden Christensen episode 3 are two of my favorites when it comes to how they interacted.
There was a lot of good in episode 3, but it still was plagued with a lot of what hurt episode 1 and 2. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
the script, the shallow character development, the fact that Anakin went like 0 to 60 in 2 seconds. Like he went from 0 to dark side Lord of the Sith, like in the blink of an eye.
That's why I think that they didn't do a good job of taking the book to the movie because the book does such a better job at that. You understand the internal conflicts. You see how he was slowly pulled to the dark side, how Palpatine manipulated him for his entire life, basically. Since he came to the planet, came to Coruscant. But CJ, I was going to ask you, since me and Nick talked about this before, episode 3. like as a movie as a whole, you can like it, don't like it, whatever. I actually love it. It's one of my top three. But when it comes to the end of the movie, this is the reason why for me is like one of the best ones. Even though I'm sitting in the movie theater and I'm watching it, and I'm sitting there going in my head, I'm going like, "Don't do it, don't turn." You know he's going to turn, but somehow I actually think there's a chance he's not going to turn. You can't say it's not a good movie if they're able to make you think that while you're sitting there watching it, even though you know the outcome already. Like, how's that? I don't think people give credit to the whole way they did that. I mean, at least for me, like I was sitting there legitimately saying, "Don't do it."
So your point is, if people don't give enough credit as a good movie, are you saying maybe it should be put up into the same status as the original trilogy due to the suspense and the attachment that you have for Anakin Skywalker as a character?
You want Anakin not to turn, and you want him to win. You want him to be the good guy, and even though we all know he's going to become Vader somehow, right?
I guess I personally didn't feel that same attachment to him as a character, mainly because I don't know if he really had a lot of accomplishments or values or attributes that I admired or could relate to as a character. He seemed like he was just very ambitious and headstrong and stubborn. I would have appreciated an Anakin Skywalker that had a more tragic downfall where he just sacrificed so much because he had a big savior complex and he tried to do so much for the galaxy and the old republic that it just crushed him and tore him apart. And maybe we do see Padme die and how it affects him. And I didn't really believe that like how it was just so quick, like, oh, I want to save Padme, so I have to turn to the dark side, like Nick says. And then that's ultimately what made him decide that he had to trust Palpatine. I mean, I know he says that the Jedi are evil in his eyes, but the Jedi held him back, and he just didn't like that. It makes him seem kind of not a likable character.
Nick, I would just put this out here 2 months from now.
Makes him seem like a bitch.
I couldn't disagree with that. There was some bitchy moments in there, but 2 months from now, between now and 2 months from now, you need to read episode 3. And when you have we need to talk about a book on that. I'm telling you, when
the movie first came out,
everything you're saying,
I heard it's a good book. Yeah,
everything you're saying right now is expounded on and would make you think differently about what you just said.
Okay. Yeah, I mean that makes sense. Did you read the book before you saw the movie?
No. I'm right now. I'm to the point where he just killed all the people in the Jedi Temple, and he's headed to Mustafar.
Those aren't just people; they're younglings, dude.
Hey, I was trying to keep
their
it PG, man,
by just referring to them as people. All right.
I mean, that was another thing. I mean, it's become a popular theory now that the Jedi were actually evil because they used children warriors. Ashoka character was only 14, I guess, in the Clone Wars series when she started fighting, which I haven't watched that either, but I'm sure I will someday with my son.
I've tried watching with my children, and I can't watch that show, man.
I'm on season 5.
The first episode, it's like the droids come out acting like the Three Stooges. Roger. Oh
really?
And it's like, I'm done. Checked out.
Well, do not watch that new one coming out. The droid stories for to have R2D2 and C3PO.
Yeah, I actually did like though. There's one animated one on there called The Resistance, and it's
Resistance.
Poe Dameron in it.
That one's
that one's a little better.
Yeah,
not as. Yeah,
I've heard Star Wars Rebels is good too.
That's a little more childish from what I've heard than Clone Wars.
Oh, it's more childish than Clone Wars?
Yeah, I've heard.
Wow.
I don't know. I could be wrong.
I've seen like one episode of that one. I'm trying to watch them in order, so.
Yeah.
I guess none of us are. I mean, if we can't see it, we can't judge it.
I can. And I will. I keep giving.
I'm going to judge it, even though I know nothing about it.
I keep giving it a try, man. I have tried so many times to watch it. It's on Disney Plus. Anytime I can pull it up. You know, and then it's just like, well, I'll just go back and watch Rogue One, or like the other day I watched Solo again because I really enjoyed.
You've already watched those, man. Like when you have 30 minutes to kill, watch a Bad Batch episode.
Yeah, but Bad Batch, it just had that whole vibe of like, I've always struggled in movies and TV shows when like the main hero is a child. And like this kid,
children actors
she's
generally
not the main
are
hero.
not that they're not gonna be that good of actors, so it's gonna be a little cheesy. Jake Lloyd got too much criticism, and people are too hard on him.
He
Yeah.
quit
he
acting
went
because
insane.
of that.
He went insane.
Yeah.
He was diagnosed with schizophrenia and all some
Yeah.
other stuff. And actually, on that topic, did you guys hear like even the guy that played Jar Jar Binks, Ahmed Best, he like stood on a bridge about to
He
jump
almost
off
killed
and kill
himself.
Yeah.
Is that recent?
No, that was back when it was all like really heavy.
Right after probably around the time of episode 3, because he was still getting all the shit for episode 1. And
I thought he handled it better than Jake Lloyd, but I guess if you internalize it,
no, I mean you
still
would
comes
have
out
Bioga, whatever his name is, I can't say his last name. Yeah, and also Ray, whatever. Daisy Ridley.
And then the actress that played Rose.
They turned off their damn social media because of it. I mean, it's ridiculous. The fact that they have to. Star Wars fans, at least some of them, can't behave like adults and treat people like human beings.
Yeah, as much as I hated episode 8,
and they're not at fault. I mean, it's a job for them. They're reading a script. They're doing the best they can. They're not at fault, but I mean, they're the easy targets for people to attack.
Yeah, 100%. Well, it's the face of Star Wars. It's the face of the movie. It's the face of it's what you see on the big screen. Red Timo, what's going on? Rai, the science guy, what's going on? 2 more people came in the stream. Welcome,
cool. Welcome, guys.
You're getting to see episode 2 of the Baloney Time podcast be recorded. We have, of course, myself. We also have Fred and our guest tonight, CJ Marks, good buddy of mine, good Star Wars fan. And in fact, CJ and I, we used to play. We did a lot of tabletop stuff. And just for the record, CJ, I to this day, I talk to people when they're like, do you want to play D&D or do you want to play some kind of tabletop board game? I tell people that, sure, I don't think it'll ever come close to the experience I had playing 7th Sea with CJ as the DM.
And it's funny you mention it, because I actually pulled out your character sheet just in case this came up, because I remember we adapted those rules to make a Star Wars universe. I don't know. Do you remember anything about your character when we turned like 7th Sea into Star Wars?
I love that system.
Just a second.
Let's hear this. Yeah. So 7th Sea had the roll and keep system, which was, to me, it's one of the.
I mean, it wasn't a perfect system, but we had fun kind of modifying the rules. And yeah, you made an ex-Imperial soldier, probably, called Aries Pinar. Your description was, at 6 foot and 3 inches, Aries can be quite an intimidating sight. With a full head of gray hair and ice blue eyes, Aries is a sharp-looking man, but dresses and appears a little more run down. Many years of living in multiple conditions have hardened him. Dressed in old Imperial combat boots, fatigue pants, tank top, and a light fatigue jacket. Keeps a blaster pistol holstered on the small of his back, a small token, a reminder of his past, and a war lost to him.
Man, there's a lot of imagination there, man.
Frick yeah, man. I still roleplay that guy. Oh man, that's awesome. That's awesome. I just, so like, people don't understand. Like, so CJ would pull out, spare no expense, right? Like you talk, John Hammond, this stuff, man. We'd come over and there'd be like music playing in the background, the lights would be dimmed. He would have like props on the table. The greatest tabletop role-playing experience I've ever had in my entire life. I played a really cool dude from fictional Italy. And CJ, correct me if I'm wrong, but I was the only original character out of all the players. Everybody else's characters died, but my guy lasted 2 years.
You always are. You always bring entertainment to the table, and if the GM's entertained by you, I think that automatically extends your lifespan a bit.
There we go. So when people are like, "Hey, you want to do tabletop gaming?" I'm always down for it, but in my heart, I know I'm never going to get that level of entertainment that you provided. So I thank you for that. And to this,
it's funny too how much that just live streaming of tabletop role playing has taken off. If you guys and stuff like that, it's people actually will watch that.
Yeah. No, it's fantastic. And in fact, you have there's a couple on Twitch that do it too. That would be a lot of fun to do, actually, CJ. And maybe I need to shut up and just finally get the virtual tabletop game, and we could play Rebellion, do Star Wars Rebellion, and I could stream it.
Yeah, someday. You remember still when we were? I don't know, Fred. I don't know if you've ever played it, but there was this game that like I introduced Nick to called Star Wars Rebellion, which was not an easy game to get into. So you almost have to spend like the first day just like teaching
Sure.
people how to play it, because you could do everything that pretty much encompasses the Star Wars movie, and you either play the Empire or the Rebellion, and it ends when either the Empire destroys the Rebel base, captures Mon Mothma and Luke Skywalker, or the Rebellion captures Darth Vader and Luke's and Emperor Palpatine. Coruscant. They actually turned it into a board game, which improves a lot of the things that the PC game didn't do well. Do you remember what did you like about the PC game though, from what you remember, Nick?
I'll tell you what I didn't like about it.
Or what didn't you like? That's fine too.
Is-
Critique it all you want.
Is I always had a Chris Farley moment on this part. Remember in was it a Black Sheep where he's like they're playing checkers and he's like king me again. He's like, oh yeah, it's really nice and easy to be king again when you never move your back row. and I just felt like I just had this memory of like playing with you. I loved all the times we played, right?
No problem.
But like sometimes, man, like I was like, just take your turn. Let's
it was too slow.
Let's speed up the time. I've done all my moves. I need shit to happen now.
Yeah.
So I can
it's easy to get analysis paralysis where you just overthink your turns in these type of strategic games.
I like that. Well, so Fred, so like basically you could like it was a really unique strategy game to where it was a real-time strategy game. Right, so CJ's the Rebels, I'm the Empire, which is usually what we would do because I like the Empire. At that time, I played a lot of Empire stuff. I always Stormtroopers and Darth Vader.
Oh yeah, and you get the bigger ships. You're more powerful. It's the same way in the board game.
I don't think I ever won, but anyway, and it's like you can set the speed to I think off or like dead stop or like slow.
Yeah, you just
pause it.
Just pause it
or slow, medium, fast. And so we would leave it on slow a lot of the times, and slow moves slow. To me, medium moved pretty slow too. So like you would do all your moves. Like I would move Han to this planet or Darth to this planet. I'd move the Emperor to this planet. Create some ships. Do this. Once you do everything, once you queue up all your construction yards, your shipyards to make stuff, do stuff, like you can't do anything until time passes.
Yeah, eventually you run out of choices, and it's like, okay, I'm just waiting for the other person.
So we can move it to fast for like, a minute or 30 seconds just to like get through some stuff. Then we move it back to slow and everybody takes a turn. So it's a little hard, actually. Now that I think about it, it's a pretty poor timing and game mechanic to have on a real-time strategy that you're playing with. Like if you're playing against a computer, it's no big deal, but playing against another player.
Yeah, that's one of the things they improved in the board game, because I mean, naturally, you would think like a game like that where you're waiting a long time. Well, that almost does sound like a board game. But in the board game, you could almost say it moves faster than the computer game, because it's like, oh, I want to move a fleet. Okay, well, I'm going to do that. Now the other person gets to do something. So, okay, they're going to move a fleet, or they're going to try and get a planet to join the Rebellion or the Empire. Then they do that. So it's just like you just make one choice. And then the other person makes one choice.
It's more of a turn base.
Yeah, but you're limited to just one choice. Well, in the computer game we were talking about, you have to do all your choices at once.
Oh wow!
And you never have to stop making choices in theory.
Yeah,
as long as you have stuff available to do.
Yeah.
Well, guys, I think we're kind of coming up on the top of the episode here. So, man, that was a lot of fun. I could definitely do this again, and I think we're going to have to. We're going to have to absolutely come back and do another episode regarding Star Wars. We didn't even touch the original trilogy.
I think you can literally hit each episode with one.
We literally started off like before we even went live, everybody. I was like, so like the idea behind this episode is we're going to kind of introduce and come into it, and then we'll kind of go over we'll touch the original trilogy and go in like a chronological order. man, we blasted past all that. We went straight to legendary non-canon shit. Just went,
Well, some of
like,
it's still canon, not all of it, but some of it.
no, it was fantastic though. But man, CJ, it was really cool having you on here.
Thank you. I enjoyed myself. It was
A lot of fun. A lot of fun catching up. I'm happy you got to meet my brother.
Yeah.
We had
Read episode 3.
All right, we got homework.
And then for everybody that was watching live, I apologize if you know what, I don't even have my YouTube up. Holy smokes, my phone died off. But I'm out in Twitch. Red Timo, I see you're still out there. Rai, I don't know if you're still out there. Ed, I don't know if you're still out there. Chad, I don't know if you're still out there. But all of you guys, thank you so much for stopping out. Not any kind of game show. This is the first time, kind of a trial run on streaming the podcast to Twitch. Looks like it worked. For some reason, on my end, my video quality is garbage. Everybody else looks great. I don't know why.
That's because it'll look good. It looks good to them. It'll be coming out 720 online.
Yeah, 720. I know.
Yeah, just probably because you're the host.
Yeah, and then yeah, awesome time, man. This was so much fun catching up, and it's kind of like old times talking about Star Wars. I feel like I knew some of your opinions on Star Wars, and I feel like you and I are pretty similar in some of them. I think we all have similarities on how we view Star Wars. It's a great movie. It's a great.
I mean, the one thing. I mean, if we are going to talk about the original trilogy, the one thing we can all agree is it's the starting place. It's what brought us all together, and it's what made us want to know more about the universe and enjoy it so much.
That's fast.
And in the top 2 episodes ever. All right, before we sign off, we got to do rank the 9 Star Wars films.
All 9. Right?
All 9, man. Just go off the top of your head. So I'm going to go with a New Hope. I'm going to go with A New Hope number 1, Empire Strikes Back, Episode 7, Episode 3, Episode 1, Episode 9, I guess. Episode, did I leave out 6, and then Episode 2, and then Episode 8. No, 8, then 2.
Okay, let's go next. Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi, A New Hope, Force Awakens, Revenge of the Sith. And this is where it starts getting tougher. I'm going to say The Phantom Menace, The Rise of Skywalker, Attack of the Clones, Last Jedi.
Oh man, you guys are killing me. So Strikes
Real quickly,
Back.
I just want to say that I find it really, really interesting that you had Return of the Jedi over A New Hope. But
yeah, I love the space battle in Return of the Jedi, and the final duel between Emperor Palpatine and Darth Vader.
Yep. Okay.
Strikes Back, number 1. Number 2, I'm gonna go with Episode 3, and then Return of the Jedi, and then Force Awakens, New Hope. I feel like I'm forgetting somehow. I tell you, my least favorite is Episode 1. I still like it, but it's my least favorite. Episode 2 would be above that, and I'm forgetting the number 7. 7 and the 9's above that. So I've got them out of order. I need more time to think about this, man.
Yeah, it's a tough thing to do for the moment.
But I will say, out of those, Han Solo is still one of the better ones out of all of them. So
Rogue One is the best non-mainline Star Wars.
It was a good one. I like Solo.
There's only 2 to choose from.
just Vader and did we lose Fred?
We lost Fred, I think.
Yeah, we lost Fred. All right. Well, I guess that's where we just.
I guess that's a sign.
That's done. I didn't like
it. It was his destiny.
He wants to come back in. I guess he's going to come in to say bye.
Oh, okay.
But anyway, everybody have a wonderful, wonderful night. Fred's back.
I don't know what happened. It disappeared.
It was like right when I moved my hands up, so I thought maybe I hit something. But
I blame
you. But thank you guys for everybody for stopping out. Thank you all for tuning in and listening. Please don't hesitate to ever send us any feedback or any maybe discussion topics you want to hear us talk about. You can send that to baloneytime@protonmail.com. That's the email address that Fred and I monitor for this, so please feel free to send that our way. And then also grab the RSS feed off the Buzzsprouts link. You can grab the RSS feed and load that into any podcast app you use to find podcasts, and you can subscribe to this podcast by doing that. Once you do that, you'll get notified that a new episode comes out. As always, our episodes will be released on Fridays. You'll see this. For those of you watching it live, you're lucky. You get to see get a little head start on this. But these episodes will go live on Buzzsprouts and any podcast hosting app you use on Friday, Central Time, probably sometime around noon or 2 or somewhere around there. Guys, have a wonderful night. Again, CJ, super cool to have you here. Hang tight though, because we're gonna wrap up after we cut this off. Everybody have a great night. Thank you for coming to Baloney Time. And what was that, Fred?
May the force be with you.
May the force be with you.
May the force be with you all. Always.